So when we're leading in uncertain times, resilience is one of the most important things we can do. However, it's one of those words that's thrown around that we don't often deeply understand. And in fact, how I see it is there's two different tracks in terms of what resilience are. So I've pulled together the work, the 5 practices of highly resilient people, the infinite game, deep work, and blue ocean shift to kind of bring all of these concepts together. So first of all, Dr. Taryn Marie Stejskal, the 5 practices person, she says that resilience is experiencing change, challenge, or complexity in a way that we are enhanced instead of diminished. And that is true, and that is important. Then there's this whole other part that brings in all those other 3 resources and the work of Sinek and other folks. It's this idea that when we are being called to be resilient, we are especially called during uncertain times, because resilience is about adaptability and looking at current or old problems with new solutions. For example, in the Infinite Game, Simon talks about how the company that makes Swiss Army knives, when 9/11 happened, their business could have been done because, knives that people travel with were no longer allowed through TSA. And instead, they shifted and they had off-the-chart sales moving forward, because then they focused on their luggage line and things like perfume, which I didn't even know they made. My business, for example, Lancaster Leadership, during COVID times, could have been done for because we are an events-based human interaction company. But we pivoted in a bunch of ways so that year we had double service and sales. So here's the thing. So the book Deep Work talks about how in a distracted world, how can we focus on the important things, which kind of ties into Stephen Covey's idea of we have a life and a jar. The jar is like our lives. There are things we need to put in there, big rocks, pebbles, and sand. And if we don't put the big rocks, aka the deep focused work, in first, if we put the sand and the pebbles in first, we're going to have no room for the deep work or the rocks. It's also like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the author of Flow, and who's really the father, maybe grandfather, I don't know, of positive psychology, talks about if we want to get into the state of flow, we have to be able to truly focus. That also reminds me of other research that I've heard. I can't quote who it's from, but 23 minutes is how long we need to be able to fully dive into something. If we're interrupted before that, we're not in the true cycle of concentration. So when we go to thinking about how frequently the email pings or the text pings, most of us are not in a state of deep work. So here's the tip. If you're like, okay, that's all interesting, but kind of depressing, what can I actually do about it? So I've been doing a bit of studying of the future of work, the future of strategic planning. Actually, if you want to know some about the future of your industry, you can even get onto generative AI, go into ChatGPT and say, what does my industry look like 10 years from now? It's interesting. It might not be 100% true, right? Forecasting, future predicting, it might not be exactly the case, but it's really interesting. So here's the hot tip. Can you fight for 15 minutes for yourself to do a strategy session? I mean, quite frankly, an hour is best. If you're like, I don't have any time, can you do it for 15 minutes once a month? Once a week is best. Where you stop the madness, you stop serving, you stop doing, and you sit and think. You have a start, stop, and continue conversation with yourself, which means what should I or my team start doing, stop doing, or continue doing, so that we don't just end up making a lot of time going in the wrong direction, so that we can actually be the visionary leaders that our teams desperately want, but nobody's going to advocate for 15 minutes for ourselves on our calendar except for us. So it's something to fight for, because the best thoughts come from deep thinking. Sometimes, for folks like me, It also comes with movement. If I go for a walk, I can have when my body's active, my brain is more active. Sometimes it also comes from me listening to great audiobooks because it springs into action what I could do, just like how I'm sharing all these resources with you. So I'm a big advocate for you fighting for time for yourself so you can lead your organization even better.